me to move forward, and men think it's magic. It's simply being teachable. I sat under one guy for 5 years to be taught how to be a man. Being teachable has spared me, let me tell you. You just need to tame your pride. Also name is ego. So, tame your pride and be teachable.
General.
Yes.
But now you people say, if you take out the ego from a man, you destroy them. So how do we deal with that?
So there's a healthy ego and an unhealthy ego. So in the social context, when they say be careful with his ego, they're meaning be careful with his immaturity, with his childishness. Be careful with his pride. So the healthy ego is identity. And women also have identity. So safeguard your identity, your sense of security in the world. That's all. Of your uniqueness, separate from parents and everybody. When people reach age 18 to 24, I call it individuation age, and tell them separate from your parents now. Don't mean you abandon them.
So hear this once and for all, yeah?
Yes.
Let's get it right. Let's get it straight.
Yes. I keep telling them, I call them pre-25s because they're mature enough to date, but biologically, but psychologically they're not different enough to know who they are versus who they are dating. That's why they date narcissists and other animals. Thinking they're big compassionate. So 18 to 24 is a time to build your ego now. Ego means your confidence. All right? The healthy form of pride. To be sure of your place in the world, to carve a path of life, the direction you are going. Draw your map. I want to be this, and then draw a map. You make a plan for your life. Identify who you are. Decide the family values you want. Decide the godliness you want. Decide the depth, the lifestyle you want, the money you want to live, the clothes you want. The individuation is usually a short period. About from the time you leave Form 4 to the time you leave campus, the time you get a job. Usually around 24. That's, I tell them, if you take that 6 years, you can rule this one. You can climb higher than anybody by simply using, and that's all I did. For me, there are two things. I planned my life. I remember blocking, saying between 2011 and 2016, I will not date anyone. I'll simply learn what family is about. I'll simply learn what men are about. I'll simply learn what women are about. I grew up in a dysfunctional family where mom and dad were fighting. They were not showing me romance. It was all about war and the fight and conflict and tension and all of that. I didn't know that I don't know. There's a epistemology you say sometimes you don't know what you don't know until you confront a situation you're not equipped for. So you're self-reflective enough. The failure, the blank, the confusion will tell you need to be equipped. So I kept crossing women wrongly. Alright, being too forthright with my logic, but I know how they feel. I have no emotional intelligence. So I went 5 years to study. So the thing, why men we think it's normal to reject. They also say I don't want to be advised by a woman. Many counselors are women.
Hold on. The time you went to study for those 5 years, is it the same time you were under mentorship?
Yes. 2011 I was finishing my degree, my law degree. Then I met a guy who seemed composed and he knew where he was going. He was the first guy I could see was calm and composed, and we could converse. And he was not too old than me to look like the father I was trying to run away from.
And how did you know that you needed to move away from your father's influence, or what you idealize your father to be? To be a different person.
All of us use our fathers as a reference point, whether he's absent or present.
True.
We go towards him or away from him.
Yes.
Every person on earth, whether they acknowledge it or not. 85% of prisoners, inmates in America, research was done. 85% don't have a relationship with their father. They hate their father, never seen him. It's the anger of their father that took them there, but it's unconscious. All right. During Mother's Day, a company donated cards for people to wish their mothers. And the prisoners devoured all of them. They ordered again and again and again. A company wanted to do charity by giving prisoners Mother's Day cards to send to their mothers. And when they brought the first batch, it was free. They ordered until the Father's Day was usually a week later. They imagined the same demand. So they poured lorries. Only 1% was used. And the prisoners were not interested. Well, today we have free cards. They go back to sleep. The cards were not used. They discovered accidentally. People were only attached to their mothers.
Picture painted.
Yes. It was not research. It just happened. So it's to tell you that one of the reasons we are having and the sickness we are dealing with is we ourselves were not fathered, we were not shown relationship, we were not shown mentorship. I learned I needed coaching because I didn't like the way my father related with my mother, and I felt lost and confused. Why did you marry if you have to keep on fighting? I thought marriage should be voluntary. Why are you fighting so much? My mother was not working. She had many children and she was struggling hand to mouth. She could not buy us pens. We usually fear our father, but when you ask for a book, she sends it to your father. And you know your father will first of all reprimand you.
Why?
Before you get the book or the money.
So we dreaded the process of acquiring a pen. The procurement process was very harassing. You propose here, it is forwarded to, and the teacher is pushing you.
That's how we grew up.
You go to class and hide because you don't have the book.
You don't have the book.
And they are conflicting at home. You try to ask for a book, they take it out on you.
Yes.
Go and ask for. So I wanted where my children could. In fact, I still have the goal. I don't have a kid yet. In future, we just second year of marriage. That year.
Wow.
And I was careful not to bring children into confusion.
Wow.
I thought my mother was not planning what she was doing. I'm the sixth child. I could not challenge the number of children because I'm one of the manyness.
That's a bold statement.
My hands were tied. One day I tried. Mom, my neighbor has only 3 kids. I got a TV, sofa set, they eat food, inabaki, asubuhi wanabeba. When mtoto waka. So I was silenced. If I was getting 3, where would you come from? Okay, she has a point.
When you are fitter, yes.
John Mishuki, she also quoted John Mishuki was 28th child. The late Mishuki, who brought a lot of reforms. So Africans have their own philosophy for justifying
I see where you get your reasoning and wisdom from.
I used to question. I wonder why are we not like so? They have better uniforms. Our uniforms are patched. Why my pullover? You can't tell where the hand was.
Enough punch.
You have to trace. And then you're being ridiculed because when you bend their shorts and so on. So I was trying to make sense of poverty. And next time call me to come and talk about poverty because couples are marrying when they have poverty mindset. And they try to think they're maintaining security, they're avoiding risks, and they're just keeping in poverty. Right?
Hey, that will be
one of these is an investor, another one is a saver, and this one thinks you're reckless, you're too fearful, you're a saver, I'm a spender. So in between there, we keep, because poverty inspires you with fear. That if you want to change job, if you resign, we might be out to, oh my God, we'll be evicted. So, your poverty mentality, when you're afraid of building a business for 2 to 5 years to become wealthy, but you're okay working at a job for 40 years, broke. So I knew my father was not my role model by observing and by suffering under his leadership. That's how I knew. And I didn't know who is the opposite.
So it was not for you to find out.
I just knew what I don't want. Sometimes you don't know what you want.
And that takes clarity of mind.
Exactly. So I started somehow looking for something else. There's a philosophy usually say, don't let people mislead you just because you don't know what this is. You may not know what it is, but you know it's not a banana, it's not a mango, it's not a banana. So I knew that was not marriage.
And that is clear to me.
There's a time I used to tell my husband, I don't know the answer, but I know it is not this, exactly. It is not this.
That's how we used to cross to cross, not B, not C. So you made A and B, then pick it. So I said I would rather pick it between others.
But don't pick this.
So I could not tell my father, I hate you. As you grew old, he mellowed and we became friends when he grew up. But by then he was on his way out. Later he died 2015 when I was turning 30 and I'm wondering, when I'm just starting, then you leave. Because I was also a child of his second wife.
Yes.
I learned another thing, I'm his 10th child. To my mom and the middle child. But behind me are 5. So we grow. We are many. And when you are many, when they feed you, they have succeeded. That's a problem with big children, many children. You don't see how far. You work with the bare minimum. Give them some clothing and food.
Someone to sleep with.
You reduce the bare minimum survival. While the children in Modaiga and wherever are being taken to group of schools to be made to succeed. When you are built, when you build on survival, you can't compete with the guys who are built on success. Alright? You cannot. You need a lifetime to equal those imbalances. And I want to be the lifetime. Mine will be the sacrificial lifetime. I keep asking couples, can you be the last generation to have grown on survival? Can you be the last last generation, a shoe was a privilege. They pay school fees and they punish you for it. I paid your fees, that's why I can't eat meat. But the fees was your duty.
You know that statement is so familiar.
Yes.
Fees was paid, so these are...
Until you feel guilty.
Exactly.
That your fees was paid.
They make you think you are the investment. So when they grow, you have to give them money. Because they educated you, as if that was a privilege. And they tell you their neighbors who never educated. What are they measuring against? They had a choice.
Look for a healthy standard rod.
They had a choice to give birth. I did not have a choice whether to be born.
Or not.
So once you're born, it's their responsibility.
Thank you. At least for the period that I'm supposed to be under them. So I learned there was a dysfunction by seeing that we were lacking basics. That food was, we would suffer hunger. Poverty deprives you of the right to be human. It takes away, when you see an adult walking with a torn cloth, begging for food, looking subdued, harassed, and I keep asking them, don't you hate poverty? First sign of poverty means that it's careless breeding, getting children anyway. Pardon me for using an animal husband, it's because I'm angry with the behavior. You should not call it that way. Just call it getting kids. But I could see how we were so many yet so miserable. And nobody was bringing a solution. So for me, my direction to move away from that background was coming from the poverty I had suffered. That's why I studied in school. I keep telling people, some passed because of our geniuses. Others had been promised cars. If you get an A, there's that guy actually we finished, and his father had promised him 20,000, which was too much money that time.
I can imagine.
If they get an A, me, I know, I don't need to be promised anything.
I need to pass.
A piece of land was sold for me to be brought to school. So after my father had been pushed by society. So he told me to Marizana, what was to be inheritance is gone.
So you better pass, otherwise you're done.
Exactly. And for me, I was working from fear of poverty. That I can go back to crisis, and then I'm very poor with the manual. I can't do manual things like carpentry. I had brothers and cousins who thrived easily in driving, doing both, and they made it.
I have a friend of mine, and we are talking about a businessman who is very successful and very aggressive. So he was telling me, I know the background of this guy. He has come from abject poverty. His success is driven by the fear of going back to where he came from. Nothing else.
He was talking about who?
Another.
Exactly, a successful. So I was telling you, there are people who are motivated by desire to be better.
Yes.
There are others like us who are motivated by, we know how poverty feels like.
Yes.
We know how having no food, we know how having to struggle, we know how having to borrow. You know, your father is sending you to the shop to borrow. And the shop reminds you have not paid the other one.
The other one.
That's why,
oh my God,
to this day, I'm still the one who does shopping in my house. I check whether rice is around here, I top up. I hate to see a house that has no food. And I've taught my wife where I'm coming from to prevent me from that trauma.
So that you're not traumatized.
I told her, make sure in the kitchen there's always a snack.
Relieving your
a fruit, something. Because it was always dry. There was nothing biteable. And because you are deprived, if somebody brings fruits, we devour them. When you work with a household, you'll experience that.
Yes.
You bring somebody who's coming from scarcity, and the fridge now you can't keep any fruit, and until you teach them.
That they're enough.
You have to
slowly. They always be there.
That's the background I came from. So today I keep telling her, make sure we have something to buy. When I arrive, let me take an orange. Apart from the meal, I'm one person who likes a loaf of bread, so there's a loaf. And I like that environment. It gives you an idea of abundance and security.
I can imagine,
That in my car there's always a biscuit and something. So I'm trying to be the first one to bring up my children, not over spoiling, to blind them from the reality of the world. But again, not to deprive them until they have to they reduce their life to looking for food. You know their kids who eat everything in front of them. Because we'll only know, we don't know when the next meal will come. So when you see it, devour. You store inside.
This business of waiting for the next meal.
Exactly. So for me, my drive came from there. Now, today, why I became accustomed to being guided, because I knew I needed guidance. So let's tell men, Harold, that we need guidance. We don't know everything.
We need guidance. That's what we are saying.
Please. It's not an indictment, doesn't call you a fool. When I invite you, we talk about your family. I'm not saying you are unable to manage your family. And you know that is, I think that's the message that they hear. That's the message that we hear when you say, let's talk about your marriage. People are like, do you mean I've been defeated?
What do you mean? You think I can't manage my relationship?
And let me tell you how to know that God wants you to be guided. Study Proverbs. If you study the Bible, one thing I tell men is, if you forget everything, do what Joshua was told.
Yeah.
When he was told, given leadership, he was told, this book of the law shall not depart from your mouth.
Yeah.
You shall meditate on it day and night. Then you shall have good success. Good success means sustained success.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
There's such a thing as passing success. Not really bad success, but passing. You visit.
It's for a
You
moment.
visit greatness.
Yes. Then you come
And
back
come back
to reality.
to reality.
And today, when you succeed in our society, they keep telling you enjoy while it lasts.
While it lasts.
Because they are used to fleeting
It's
success.
fleeting.
Joshua was told you can stay here to the end if you meditate on the book.
Yeah.
So I asked men, if you don't read anything else daily, read the Bible.
Yeah.
The pastor preaches once a week. You need to read the Bible 7 days a week.
Yeah.
7 times a week. Have a walk with God. One of the book of Proverbs tells me that if you listen to counsel, you'll avoid disaster. That's the message. It told me a wise person listens, counsel, and avoids, but a fool goes on and is ruined.
Yes.
Titanic, one of the most famous disasters, was warned 6 different times. The captains of Titanic, that ice had been spotted on the side.
Yes.
That they should slow down, change direction, and avoid the disaster.
Yeah.
But it was a new ship. It was new and strong. They didn't think it can sink. They even blasphemed. Some of them spoke blasphemy. Not even God can sink.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. When God removes His grace, you become unteachable. So let's tell men that we have come this far by listening to advice.